Welcome to Riding the Trauma Train, or welcome back if we've shared this space before. I'm Lydia, your host and fellow passenger in this journey of self-healing, inner strength and personal growth. This podcast is a safe, judgment-free space dedicated to the realities of living with and healing from trauma. Through personal stories and in-depth conversations with special guests, including therapists, healers, practitioners, and fellow survivors, we look at what healing can truly look like in everyday life. We explore realistic healing journeys and share simple, sustainable practices and actionable tools to support your well-being along the way. So grab your ticket, take a seat, and remember you are not on this journey alone. Welcome to Riding the Trauma Train. I'm Lydia, your host and fellow passenger in this journey towards self-healing, inner strength and personal growth. Today we are joined with the lovely Lisa King. Lisa is a self-loveologist, a published author and a radio presenter. Grab your ticket, take a seat, and remember you are not on this journey alone. Lisa, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me in this episode.
I love it. Thank you for the invite. It's amazing. I'm really, really excited to speak with you. It's going to be awesome.
Well, we had like a little mini chat, didn't we, on New Year's Day, which I had obviously forgotten about whilst eating breakfast, and ended up being, having a mum bun and a big cozy dressing gown. It was lovely.
It's done. Self-love.
Yeah, exactly that. I just want to say, I came across Lisa on TikTok, of all places, TikTok, and I've got to say, but the first thing that I noticed was your hair, your fantastic spiky hair. And then I saw your name, self-loveologist, and watched your live, which was amazing. And then we've just connected from there. I think probably the first question is for all those people out there that will probably had exactly the same question as me. What is a self-loveologist?
I love it. I love it. So self-love for me is the foundation of everything. So on my journey, I had, from a very young age, no self-love, no self-worth, no self-anything. To be honest, I had the I'm not good enough. I had all of that going on. So my journey and my healing journey was rooted in the foundations of learning to love myself. And I didn't go to university. It wasn't a possibility for me due to things going on. And I'm like, do you know what? I've actually earned more than a PhD in self-love now. So I'm going to give myself phonology.
I love it.
Honestly, that's it. It's so self-loveologist that's what I've got my PhD and beyond in, effectively.
I love it. Absolutely love. And do you know what? Self-love it's a term that's thrown about, but it's a term that's not encouraged because people think they're being selfish, or people think that they just don't know how to love themselves, I suppose. Can we talk a little bit about your journey then? Obviously we're on a train, riding the trauma train. When did you first kind of step aboard, as it were?
Yeah, so from a very young age, I grew up around domestic violence. I had a dad who, when I look at his journey and his life, he had a father who wasn't around. He was in prison. I thought he was a sailor. Really interesting story. Yeah, exactly. He had 2 long stints in prison for different things. So, and I didn't find that out until I was on my honeymoon. It was kept a secret. I know. I could write a whole book just based on my family. It's quite interesting. And so my dad didn't have the greatest role model, shall we say. So effectively, what happened is I grew up around domestic violence. I had a mum who had to work a lot of hours because my dad didn't pay for anything. He was just to the outside world was this amazing person, charismatic, fun. But actually behind closed doors, he wasn't ready to be a father. He wasn't ready to be a husband, and he wanted everything, and when he had a drink, he became very violent. He was very manipulative. Nothing that I haven't said to him. He's not here anymore. Bless him. But so that went on. So from a very young age, I had abandonment issues. I had trust issues. I had, worthiness issues, lovable, all of that type of stuff going on. And when we're, before the age of sort of 7 or 8, we don't have access to the part of our brain that can actually reason with what's going on. I created as little Lisa a meaning about what it meant about me, which was I'm not lovable, I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough for him to be around, all that type of gorgeous stuff. And then what happened is that then snowballed and you know, I was then looking because that's what I believed about myself. My brain is then going, right, let's look for other reasons why Lisa isn't, you know, unworthy, unlovable, not good enough, all of this gorgeous stuff.
Yeah.
So I masked. I didn't understand that was what I was doing, but I masked. I did a TEDx called Unmasking the True You because I masked. I mean, that's who I thought I was. So I
Yeah.
did going through. Then can I be quite candid with what I say? Am I able to?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so when I was 12, I was raped and it was by people that I knew. And that's what that did was I emotionally switched off to the world. On top of everything that had happened, it just cemented things. And what that did for me, I turned to drink at the age of 12. Not long after I started to do the drugs, you know, the marijuana, all that type of stuff that then started to progress. I didn't do
Mhm.
anything that could have killed me, as in anything that could have killed me in that moment, because not because of me, but because I didn't want to put my mum through anything. I had no sense of self, so it was never about me. It was always about her. So then I nearly died at 17. I had broke my back, diagnosed at 20. So all these different things were happening. But my younger life really, what happened, cemented a pattern for me in relationships where I wouldn't let anyone in. Like, and
Mhm.
I had a brick wall around me so high that if anybody, like I would be in relationships, it'd be going great. Then the moment it became where intimacy then would be, you know, would be there and they'd fallen, I was like, I had to step away. I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
So, and when I look back, the amount of people I hurt because I didn't understand, you know, what was going on. And that happened for many years. Then a lot of stuff happened, but the catalyst for the change for me was when my partner took her life. So that happened 16 years ago this month, actually, 26th of January. That's when it happened. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, you know, that for me was, I then done a whole year of self-destruct, drinking, drugs, sex, all of that. But I had money to do it. So
Yeah.
I was able to do it. And then from there, I then had a breakdown and life just I was at a point where I was at my lowest. So it's either do I go back to the life that everyone else thought was really successful? I run successful businesses. I was like the social butterfly, always there for everyone, all that gorgeous stuff. I wasn't happy, I wasn't fulfilled, and I was masking and had been for effectively decades of my life. Or do I actually get to know who Lisa is underneath all those masks? And that's what I chose to do. And that was where the journey really began.
Wow. So what was your first step into it then? How from trying to from all this that is a giant mask. It's almost like a whole bodysuit, isn't it? So how did you then go, okay, what is the next step to take? So for those people listening thinking, shit, Lisa, I'm literally in the same boat as you. That's how I feel at the moment. What would be the first step, do you think?
This is I get asked this question a lot, and we're all so beautifully unique and different. For me, there were some days I couldn't even lift my head off the pillow. There were some days where I felt a little bit better. So on the days where I felt a little bit better, I made my bed. I made my bed because it felt like I'd achieved something before I'd left my room. But I would say the biggest thing for me was gratitude and compassion. I started to be grateful for the fact that I was still alive. I started to be grateful for the fact that I had a chance to sort this out. I started to be grateful for things that I had, not things that I didn't have or things that had gone wrong. And I started to be kinder to myself because the guilt and shame linked to Becky's death, Becky was her name, linked to her death, had me in just the worst place for a long time. So I had to, and I was still in that place at that time. So I had to start being grateful before I could even think about tackling the big stuff. I had to do the little stuff. I had to start being grateful. I had to start seeing that there was light at the end of the tunnel before I started tackling the big stuff. So I would say gratitude and having a little bit of compassion for myself.
Yeah, I can obviously I can't relate to what you went through, but I can the days where you can't take your head off the pillow and the days where you do, you go to the toilet, go for a wee, get back in bed and you just think I can't face the world. It is such a debilitating feeling, isn't it? It's not even it's almost like you are stuck in that treacle moment. So I think gratitude and self-compassion is something that you can do even even when you're in bed. Like, you can do that before you get out of bed. So, and it kind of changes that first kind of mindset, doesn't it? Rather than, well, I say to some, if someone says to me, "Oh, what's up? I've not heard of you." I was like, "Leave me alone. I need a few days to just wallow in my own self," and that does help me. Like when I'm having really, really bad time. But I've also done a self care checklist. Like get up in the morning, clean my teeth, because when you don't have that self love or that self worth, hygiene. Well, I say your hygiene, but taking care of yourself goes out the window, doesn't it?
I didn't shower
Okay.
for a whole week, and a friend of mine said, "Lisa, you stink." I didn't care. I didn't care
No.
at that. So yeah, I agree. I agree. It's massive.
What kind of enlightened you to go from those first couple of steps where you've done the gratitude, you've done the compassion? Where did your journey go from there? Because you've come a long way from that moment.
I needed to be able to see that whether you call it hope, whether you call, whatever element is for you, I needed to be able to see that I was going to be able to get through this. So I started to, I'd done the gratitude, I'd done the compassion, I'd done the being kinder to myself on the days where I wasn't feeling it. I'd done that. Then I needed to have, I wouldn't say motivation, but I needed to be inspired. I needed to be empowered to know that there was light at the tunnel, and that other people had done this and that had gone through this. So I started to listen to things. I started to started to podcasts, read books, all of this type of thing that meant that I knew that people had actually gone through. It might not have been the same thing. Of course, we all get our own things, but knowing that people have been at their lowest point and said, "Do you know what? Actually, you can do this. You can do this." So that was a big thing. I started to really listen to people that had been there. That was something that was massive for me. Really big.
I love that. And that's really thoughtful and inspiring for other people to hear. Because when they listen to this podcast, this is literally why this is here. This is to help other people to think that, do you know what? If Lisa was at rock bottom, Lisa's gone through all these things in her life, and actually you're now in a position where you are a self-loveologist. That is not even like flipping the coin. Like you've turned it to the bank.
Yeah, yeah.
What, I know obviously you do a lot of work. So you work with people one to one. You've got a really, really big following within community. Tell the listeners a bit about what the work that you're doing. God, that wasn't even going to come out then.
I have many hats, but the foundation of it is all self-love. So for example, like I said, I do one-to-one, I do group coaching, I do courses, I do all of that gorgeous stuff. I do a radio show which is called Unapologetically You, all rooted in self-love. So all the songs are based around that particular topic. And when I do my publishing, I publish multi-author books, and all of those are around helping people to express themselves, helping people to speak their truth, to awaken, because a lot of people live in the past, whether it's blame, denial, whatever it is. I was there. I get it. I get it. I blame my dad for many years. I did so many things, and it was like I needed to take responsibility. I needed to step into my power, and all of the skills that I had learned through being able to get through what had happened, I then spun them and used them, like strength and resilience, tenacity. And I used them and went, I've mastered these because I used these for so long. Now I'm going to use them to be able now to take this step forward. So I speak in schools. I've done a TEDx. I'm a speaker trainer. But all of it is around self-expression. I've got my own subscription, which is like a magazine so rooted, even though there's many different things, it's rooted in self-love and helping people to express themselves, helping people to release the past, especially things like shame and guilt, to live their best life.
I love
So
that.
yeah, that's what it.
Absolutely. There's so many aspects to that, because it all comes, suppose it's like your body, isn't it? If you think of all your limbs, your head, your toes, it all comes back down to your heart, doesn't it? So if you think of that all external, it all just navigates towards that. That's where my head went anyway.
Yeah.
So what if somebody wanted to work with you? What kind of thing would you kind of work with them? I know you've just said about the self love and stuff, but what? I'm trying to think if somebody's been through some kind of trauma, say it was like if we use your history for an example where you grew up in a domestic abuse family. Now that unfortunately is not a rare thing. If that was the case and they needed to come to you because they didn't have any self-worth, what kind of things would you work on with them?
So every time I work with somebody, it's very bespoke because everybody is beautifully unique and different. So I've become qualified in the most stunning modality called the Mance method. And what this does is I work with a lot of people when it comes to trauma, they have like memories, and those memories may bring like flashbacks or physical sensations in the body, or, like they're replaying or reliving things. If somebody has that, what I'm able to do with the Mance method, and it's an exploratory technique, it's all being now going through many, many different stages to be used. It's one of the most gorgeous techniques. When a memory comes in, what it does, we can't get rid of the memory. The memory is encoded in the brain. But what we do is we're able to change that emotional connection that you have to that memory. And it's a permanent thing. Once that's broken, it's like you're derailing it. It's like you're derailing the normal pattern and you're breaking it. And so if somebody has a trauma where they're impacted by memories, I do it with my family members, where something's happened, I'm able to help them with that method. That's one of the big things, because you can't think your way out of trauma. You have to be able to help the body. That's the only way that you're able to do it. I wish I'd have had the Mance method when I was going through my healing, because it took a lot longer because I was
Yeah.
doing it through different methods. What this does, one memory in 15 minutes. I've never seen anything like it. And I've been working with many people with many different things going on, and every single person has a brilliant reaction. So if it was trauma based, I would involve that. Then you do need to, it can work alongside many other things.
Mhm.
Self-worth is massive, absolutely massive. And by working with somebody on that, on getting those foundations, boundaries, self-awareness, self-acceptance, all of that gorgeous stuff, self-love isn't one thing. It's a massive umbrella. So many elements come underneath that. And I work on those, whatever that person needs. Because you may find somebody who's got, they're brilliant with boundaries, but they might have confidence issues in certain areas. So I do it relevant to whatever it is, whether it's self-expression and things like that. Whatever it is, I base it on them. But if it's trauma-based, it's always the Mance, always.
Okay. What if there's like an addiction? So I know that you on your page you the other day you're 8 years sober.
Yes.
Round of applause. So if someone has an addiction through the trauma that they've gone through, whether that's alcohol, drugs, food, is your method, is there a way that that can assist with?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's the same with phobias. It's the same with, because you can work on the feeling as well as that. So it's absolutely stunning. And what I love is doing this, being part of a community, is we all have the people that actually created this is Kim and Carl. Big shout out to them because they're incredible. And Carl is like a neuroscience genius. He's been doing this for many, many years. And his wife, Kim, is the spiritual side, so there are many different elements. And what they've done is they do a lot of work with veterans, a lot of work with veterans, which is incredible. And it can work on so many different things. That's the beauty of it. It's very simple, but it's about isolating particular feelings and memories. It's incredible.
Wow, that sounds and it's going to sound really weird, but it sounds almost too good to be true. When you've been somebody that's gone through so many different modalities and you've tried so many different, but I think I said this to you the other day, when you've been through, especially when you've been through a childhood trauma, these different modalities work at different seasons of your life. Like I've been through so much talk therapy and I kind of talked out because I can't talk anymore. I can't change what happened. But then there's the somatic therapy when that is to do with releasing it from the body. And then obviously now this Mance method, which is where it's severing the emotion from that event. Yeah, it sounds really, really, I'm so intrigued. I think I said this to you the other day that I literally went and had a little read up of it.
Yeah. Do you know what the beauty of this is? You don't have to, I do not need to know what that memory is. You do not need to tell me at all what that memory is. And that's something that is so poignant. This is something that that people say, I've not even had to tell you what it is. Some choose to afterwards if they want to, but that's one of the beauties of it. You just need to bring it into your conscious awareness. And one of the beautiful things that I'm able to say is that when you bring it into your conscious awareness, that feeling, you will never have that feeling again. And I can say
That's
that
incredible.
with confidence.
Because that's something that you've done, isn't it? You've literally been the kind of the same thing as me, is when we've been through so many different modalities on our healing journey, but knowing that you've had that particular method and knowing that it's worked it's a whole different level, isn't it? It's a whole different level.
Yeah, and it is with confidence. I really can say it with confidence. There's not been anybody that it hasn't worked with. And I've worked with people, I particularly chose people that have had significant trauma to be my case studies for a reason, because I wanted to show people exactly how powerful this is.
It's amazing. I'll put all the links into the show notes so that people can get hold of you.
Mm.
So tell me a little bit more about your journey then. So you've gone through, I was gonna say you've gone through the platform, you've gone to train. That's way too much of a metaphor. But no, so when you've gone down this route of self-healing, and you've got so many different kind of avenues that you've taken. One of them is the radio show. So tell me a bit about that, because I know that I had a look on your TikTok the other day. The other day it might have even been this morning, but you've got like episodes where you literally do songs to do with boundaries, songs to do with empowerment. So tell me and the listeners a bit about the radio show.
You know, I love it. Is when this started, so I actually got introduced to it through Kim and Carl. So Kim and Carl are actually on the radio, and I got speaking with them about the Mance, and then I was introduced to Brad and Steve, who are the founders, and it's Dreamcatcher Radio. They're a freedom of speech radio station, which I love. And my particular show is called Unapologetically You. And I didn't want to, music is so powerful. Lyrics to music is so powerful. And I used to adore music from it as a kid. It was a bit of an escapism. I loved it. But during my dark times, I never listened to music. I never listened to it because it would trigger things. It would bring things forward. All of this stuff. Now I love it. It's so what I do on my show is one week I do guests. So I have guest interviews. So I have guests come on and we talk. So for example, I've had people come on who talk about their story. And then, so it's all about empowerment and showing people what's possible. And then what they do is they choose songs relevant for their journey. And the rest of the show is based on that topic. And then I choose music relevant. So all of the songs are relevant to whatever that topic is. That's one week. And then the following week, I might dedicate the show to boundaries, or let's use boundaries as an example. So if I choose that week as boundaries, then what I do is every single song is chosen from boundaries. Now, it's not all upbeat, let's just empower. It isn't about that. It's about so that anybody at any stage, whether there's somebody who's just really at that point where they're finding things really tough, I choose songs for where they're at. I meet them where they're at with that song in relation to boundaries to be able to help them to be able to see what's possible. And then I do different. So if somebody there's one, for example, Dua Lipa called New Rules. And that's for people that are like, actually, do you know what? I'm here. I'm ready. I'm there. And my life now is new rules. So again, but I talk at the beginning of each song, I talk about the meaning behind it, how I see the meaning behind the song before I put it on. So then what that does, it's about provoking thought for me. It's about saying to people, be curious about what these lyrics are and maybe listen to the words, not just to tune and dance into it. Listen to the lyrics and the meaning behind the song, because that way the empowerment is maximized.
Yeah. And it's so true.
Yeah, music is so powerful, it really is. It really is.
A few years ago now, I went on this weekend away it was with a charity. It was to do with abuse. And the song of the weekend it was actually on your empowerment TikTok clip, which is Something Inside So Strong. And every time I hear that song, I feel my own strength. It is empowering. I can totally relate to that. And I think people can relate to music because I so many different, like something inside so strong may mean something completely different to somebody else. However, it means something to you. So the fact that you can actually feel something when you hear it, and you can feel empowered, and you can feel whatever that feeling is. I think it's actually, I think it's a beautiful thing, music. And I do find it really interesting that when you were in your darkest place, that you couldn't listen.
And I didn't wear any colour either, which was really interesting because I'm a very
Yeah,
character.
same here. But I think you kind of sort of ghost yourself, don't you? You put yourself into the background. You don't try to draw attention to yourself. So you think, actually, well, if I'm not in color and I'm just walking through life numb, no one else can see me. You think no one else can see you, but they can.
Yeah,
And it's
abs
difficult because you kind of don't then see yourself, do you? Because you don't want to look in the mirror. You don't want to put makeup on. You don't want. Ironically, sometimes I do the opposite. If I feel really, really, really bad, I cake it on. So it's
okay.
that mask you were saying, like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
mask is putting it all on, being like, okay, let's go. Especially if I'm on my way to work, or if I know I have to meet somebody that I might be feeling anxious about, or something like that, I would literally probably cake it on. I've just got that song in my head now. I can't like do do
it's
do
such a great,
do
and
do
Labby
do.
Sifri, that particular version, it's on my all-time playlist, always.
Okay, I will have a look at that version. Right. With regards to, you've got your published book. Well, you've got two published books. You're writing another book. Am I allowed to say that? Or is
So
that
I've got multi-author books, so I'm the actual publisher, so I publish and I'm within them. I'm within the books, but I've got books. My books are being written. Oh, absolutely! It's quite hilarious because I've had messages from people saying, "At Lisa, am I going to be in your book?" Because I've got quite a colourful past, you see. So I have people, "What exactly are you putting in your book?" I'm like, "You have to just wait and see." So it is
50
quite.
Shades of Lisa?
It probably couldn't be too far off that if I'm honest, but I would not necessarily put names in if you know what I mean. So, but I will. There's no hiding anything because I'm very unapologetic now. And it's my book. It's not highlighting anybody else. It's my book about me. But that is at the moment it's called Healing Little Lisa. Not sure where I'm going to go, but there I'm not sure whether I'm going to break it into a couple of books. But the multi-author books, yeah, I love doing those. I love doing those.
I think it's really interesting because I love other people's stories. I love seeing where they started, where they've gone, things that they've overcome. So the thought of a multi-author book is lovely because there's so many different stories in it.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, you've just said something then, and it reminded me, your publisher, you've got the multi-author books. What is next for you then? What is next on the journey of Lisa King?
So what I've done with regards to where I'm going to go is I'm not putting any sort of deadlines on it's got to be by this time. I've got like what I'm going to be doing and they'll happen energetically when it's right to happen. So I love to chat, as you will tell, and I love to share my story. I love to share other people's stories. A podcast for me is something I was going to do a few years ago. Life then sort of turned on its head, and that's a big thing for me. So, I love your podcast, what you're doing. It's so important to show people what's possible. And my podcast will be starting March, April. When the spring comes, I'm going to do interviews between now and then. That's a big thing for me. I also have some fantastic collaborations coming in this year. I've got retreats that I'm running. It's all about self-expression for me. There's a lot of programs that are coming out. And there's two multi-author books this year coming, which one is around self-trust and one is beautiful. I will share it. I won't go into too much detail, but I will share. It's if you imagine one story coming from two perspectives,
I like that.
it's incredibly powerful. And so that's something that's coming out, which I'll be sharing more about. That's another book that's coming out. I've already got several people that are signed up to it. So these are all things, and it will be ever evolving. There'll be different
Yeah.
stuff new things coming with the radio show, all of that stuff. Ideally, I would just love to have my own like show, TV show, whatever it is, all about getting people on, all about
Yeah.
doing, really helping people to express themselves and release shame and release the past. That's for me, but it'll be ever evolving. It'll be
Yeah,
ever.
and I think it is, isn't it? It's the same as our healing journey. It's never, it's not linear. We're never on an upward path or a downward path. We're always kind of, to me, as spirals. Sometimes you can spiral up, sometimes you can spiral down like a firework, like doof, 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 doof. What if we think about the people listening that have gone through trauma, um, and the concept of self-love? What hints and tips, or what something practical, what could you give them to say, look, today is a really bad day. If they were calling you going, Lisa, this is me. I can't get out of bed. I've done your gratitude. I've tried to be compassionate. What do I do? What's my next step? What would
Yeah.
you say to them?
What I always say to people is there's always going to be days. It doesn't matter how I have days where I'm not motivated, I'm just not feeling it. So what I've created is like an unmotivated day list. And what I do is I will say, right, okay. So for example, in the last few days, I've had a day where I was supposed to be filming, I was supposed to be doing this stuff, and I just went, no, it's not going to happen. So I went to that list and I went, right, okay, what can I do today out of that list that is going to just feel like I'm still able to achieve something, but not where I'm putting pressure on? So the first thing I would do, take the pressure off that you have to do and practice more about being. We're
Yeah,
always so much in the doing of things that we actually forget about the being. Be compassionate to yourself and go, right, okay, everybody has these days. And I would create a list of what, 2 or 3 things, because when I was at my lowest point, I wouldn't have been able to do many more than that. I would have just said, right, okay, I like to read. So one of mine is sit and read a book. Sit and read a book and do that. Other times it might be if I want to sit in my Udi and watch rubbish TV, I'm going to be okay with that today. I'm going to be absolutely fine with that as long as you don't stay in that.
hmm,
The important thing to recognize is, yes, it's okay to have like a day, maybe 2, but when it starts becoming 3, 4 a week, that's where it's about going, hang on a second, I now need to, this is becoming too regular. What can I do to help break the pattern of what's happening?
yeah,
And it might be a tiny thing. It might be a tiny thing like let somebody know that you might just need a phone call, a
yeah,
little reminder to say how you're doing. I used to say to people, don't always expect me to chat, and I can chat for Britain. Don't expect me to chat, but just a little text to say, just to remind you, you don't need to reply to it, but just a reminder, have you got up? Have you done that little thing? Knowing I don't have to respond to them, but just that little reminder that somebody's doing a check in. So because they're taking time to check in, I'm going to check in now. That was a really powerful one for me.
I think that is so important as well. I think I listened to a podcast, and I can't remember who it was. It was a man that was a guest on another podcast. I listened to so many now, but he said his friend had reached out to him, so a bit like you did with the text message, saying, "How are you? Can you come around tonight? I'm fine." And it was just and she said to him, "Yeah, no, I've not been good." And he went, "Why didn't you tell me?" She went, "I thought I did in my messages." And I think they came up with this rule. It's probably, if you Google it, that 8 minutes is all it takes. So yeah, have you got 8 minutes? And I just thought that is so powerful, because a lot of my friends say to me, we know when you're not in a good place, because it could be one word answers, or you kind of drift off. But like you say, sometimes you do need to just wallow in that little bit of self-pity, just for a little bit, because do you know what, life can be tough. So if you want to wallow, you just need that time. But like you say, you cannot fix yourself in it. You cannot stay in that swamp, because you will drown. So you have to move forward. I think what did you call you just called your list something? Non-motivation day or
Yeah,
something?
so on
Yeah.
days where I'm not motivated, it's like, or a just being list, whatever you wanna call it. We're all different, our language will be different,
Mm.
but it's about having that list to go to on so that you still feel like you're achieving something. And I think another thing that's really important is we all of our emotions are valid. If there's days where we're angry, it's okay to be, people think it's not okay to be angry. It absolutely is essential to be able to allow ourselves, because if we hold on to emotions and we say we can't be angry, that angry is stored inside us. And then you get physical illnesses, and one of the illnesses linked with suppressed anger is cancer. I'm not being dramatic, but
Yeah.
that is the case. And when you mentioned about that 8 minutes, it's Simon Sinek is the guy, because I've heard it myself, and it's very powerful. what I do with people that I work with, people that I'm close to, because sometimes when we are at that lowest point, actually asking for help is really hard. Even if, can you give me, can you talk? So what I say to people is, you don't even need to type that. Just put 5 minutes. So all you need to do, type 5 and minutes. I will know exactly what that means. And I know then you're not asking, you're simply stating that time. You're not asking, because half the time I'm an exceptionally busy person. I will always make time. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I will always make time. So people will find it hard to ask because it's like, I know how busy you are. You might be this, you might be that. So I say to people, put 5 minutes. If I'm doing like I'm doing now, I wouldn't be able to jump off. I'm doing live broadcasts but the minute I'm able to, I will call you. But then what that does, they're not asking. They're just stating five
Yeah.
minutes. It takes that pressure off that they're asking, and it makes a difference. No, that it just makes such a difference.
Asking for help or asking for somebody to listen or just to be there is the hardest thing you can do when you are in that bubble. And that, I call it my bubble. When I get into that bubble, I just think I am not interested in talking to anybody. I'm not interested in reaching out. If somebody then, like you say, that check in from your friend, if you get that check in and they say, I know you're not in a good place, but I'm here, it's probably, it just takes that bit of extra pressure off when you feel like you could then feel like, okay, right, they know I'm in a bad place. I'm just going to say, I can then come back to them. I think that's with your list you just said, is that where you said about different language, that's what I've put on my website is the self-care checklist. Between us, it is being unmotivated or not being able to care for yourself. Having something you can literally tick off and you, like you say, make your bed. Oh my gosh. That is one of my bugbears. I don't know why, because I never used to make my bed as a kid, but I just, like you say, even if you get nothing done that entire day, your bed's made. You've achieved.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is funny because I hear some people say, "I can still achieve this when I haven't made my bed." I get it. I get it. But for me, actually feeling like I'm coming back into a tidy room when my head was all over the place, give me a little bit of, a bit more clarity. It just felt better for me. So it's always interesting when you hear different people's viewpoints, but it's really important to do you in that moment, do you. And it's like on some of the days, if I got up and brushed my teeth on certain days, I was like, go you, Lise, tapping myself on the back, go you, well done you. And then what I would do was just get back into those healthier habits when I was feeling well enough. I habit stack. So I would go, right, okay, while I brush my teeth, I'm just going to look in the mirror and I'm just going to just smile, just try and raise a little smile. I remember someone said to me when they were talking, they said, right, what you need to do, look in the mirror and just say that you love you. And I went, you're talking, if you've got somebody who has got no self-love or anything like that, telling them to look in the mirror and say, I love you, can actually be quite detrimental because it can actually start that, why don't I love myself? Why can't I do this? Why
Mm,
can't I say it? So I say to people, just start where you're at. And if just simply having a little crack and a little smile just is enough, do that, and just say, I'm doing the very best I can today.
yeah.
I'm doing the very best I can today. And that's enough. Because otherwise we can put ourselves under so much pressure. I would say, do you meet yourself where you're at and do it in the tiniest of steps and just create that safety again. Because our nervous system needs to come along for the ride whenever we're creating change. And if we're doing anything too massively big, our nervous system's going to go, whoa, that just feels really uncomfortable. And it will just put you into a completely different state. So if you can do tiny steps, I always do hand on my heart, it's okay. You're safe. It's okay. And do that with each step. It's a game changer.
There's a couple of things that come to mind. One is Mel Robbins. Now, Mel Robbins, I know she's got the let them theory, but she also it's got the high five. So you go up to the mirror and you high five it
Yeah.
with intent. So if you were high fiving your best friend, you would go up and you like literally your energy, doesn't it? It comes from inside and it goes to your hand. The other person is I had another podcast guest, Dana Grant. Now she was saying to me, she wakes up in the morning and like you just did, she puts her hand on her chest and she takes gratitude. All is well in the world. I am loved. I am safe. All is well. And I just think it's so empowering, especially with our nervous system, to put our hand across our chest and say, I am safe. Because if you're somebody that's been in fight, flight, or fawn, or whichever survival mode you've been in for however many years, safety is the thing that we were lacking. Putting your hand on your heart and saying, I am safe, I am loved, is just, it just changes things. And I find it really profound doing it, especially in the beginning, because like you say, if you're somebody that has no self-worth, has no self-love, saying I am loved, I love myself, it doesn't register in your brain. But saying I am safe, that is an act of external validation rather than about yourself. I think that's a really, really good point. Thank you.
That's all right. One other thing I would say is really important as well is it's all about honoring you. For me, it was about doing check-ins through the day. I've got this beautiful document, and it's reminding people to check in so things don't spiral out of control. So, for example, let's say it's around boundaries. Let's use boundaries as the example. But the first thing in the morning is to wake up and acknowledge and say, right, okay, what is it that I want to make sure I honor today? So first thing in the morning, I always put hand on heart. That works for me. What do I need today? What do I need to do to honor my boundaries today? Then about midday, halfway through your day, dependent on where you are, it's again just to reinforce it and just make sure that you're doing that check-in. And that might be to just ask yourself, is there anything this morning that I need to look at? Is there anything that I need where my boundaries are not working? And again, in the afternoon and the early evening, do another check-in, whether that's a nervous system piece, whether it's an identity piece, and just check, go, what worked really well? What is it that I might need to enforce a little bit more? And then before bed is remind yourself and that highlight and acknowledge what you've done. Because to be able to start your day saying, right, okay, this is my intention. And then by the end of the day, go, brilliant. Okay, that was brilliant. That was awesome. Let's do more of that tomorrow. Tomorrow, what I'll do is look at this. You've got that reflection piece, but you check in through the day, and that way it doesn't spiral.
Yeah.
It's so easy. And our nervous system, we keep our nervous system in check with each of them. Our nervous system doesn't spiral and dysregulate.
That's very similar to like when you check in with yourself, when you do that check in, like look for something that you're grateful for. I don't know, me sat here now drinking my cup of coffee, so grateful for that. And when I started doing things like that, like I was walking the dog and I looked up and it was sunny and I was like, I'm so grateful that I'm out in the sun. Little things. So when you check in, just have a look, just have a little think about what you're grateful for in that moment. It could be something as simple as being in your slippers, which I am, by the way, just so you know, I am in my slippers. And the people that are currently not able to get out of bed, those people that are kind of almost starting their healing journey, um, or are having, I want to say, relapse is not the word I'm thinking of. Or you're having a bad day. Like we all have bad days, regardless of where you are on the journey. I think it's really important for people to not just think about things, but to action them. Like it's all well and good listening to something, but if you don't then put it into practice, your body's not going to do it. Same as like putting it, like you said, putting your hand on your heart. That is an action. What you're saying is an action. Thinking it is great, but if you don't actually say it, you're not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And another really good tool that helped me was when we wake up in the morning, 95% of our day is from unconscious programming, habits, all of that gorgeous stuff. 5% is conscious. We wake up in the morning, it's either thinking about things we didn't do, things that we've got to do. So we rooting ourselves in the present moment means that we can't be in the past or the future at the same time. So by bringing ourselves into, we wake up and we're like, right, okay, what's 5 things that I can see? Right, okay, so we're bringing ourselves into awareness and look at colors, look at different things that you can see in the room, look at things that, use your senses. So you're talking about what you can see, what you can hear, what you can smell, what you can touch, what you can taste. It might be taste could be a coffee, in the mornings, but really take yourself into that. What does that taste like? Is it bitter? Is it sweet? what is it? So each of the different things, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you can change. It could be 5 things that you taste if you're in a restaurant, for example. It might be use them. But by rooting yourself in that present moment when you wake up, you can't be in the past worrying about stuff that's happened, or in the future worrying about things that haven't even happened, which then can bring feelings of in the body of anxiousness. You're rooted in the present moment. That also was a really powerful one for me. And you can do it absolutely anywhere, any time of day.
Yeah, and you don't, and that is something that you don't need to share with other people. If you're in that moment, you're feeling anxious. Actually, you can kind of just you can go through that thought process. So I find it really funny though that you said colors, because one of my things is rainbows. My girls and I, even if we're in the car, we do, like yellow card game that everyone
I
plays.
love
We
that.
play.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, we
yeah.
play rainbow car. We literally have to do red, blue, yellow, green, and pink or purple because they're a little bit rarer. But that is one of my focus things. Find something red, find something blue, find something yellow.
Yeah.
And I think it's because sometimes when you're in that moment, you can't think of it's difficult to go through it, isn't it? When you've
Mm,
got something even more simplistic, like the colours, it's just another tool in the kit box, isn't it? That actually we're all human beings. We all go through these different emotions, but actually we just need that little tiny bit of help when we can't help ourselves, I suppose, is what I'm trying to think of. That's amazing. You've given us so many tips today. It's great. Tell me about your community. You've got quite a big TikTok community. Don't think you're on Instagram, but you are on Facebook. I do know that. Tell us a bit about your community and how you all come together, because I know you do a lot of lives. I had a little look earlier, and I think I missed one last night, which was a little bit annoying. But tell us about that.
oh, I love it. Previous in the previous years, it was always Facebook. Always Facebook. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Facebook where you can't speak your truth as much. So I'm like, so I've got a private group that has recently opened, so that's really going to be pushing from this year, called Expansion. That's what I do on Facebook. So I I don't post that much on socials, really, to be honest, which I should, because, people are like, let me get rid of the word should, not a fan of the word should. It's something that I will be doing more of because I am, out there, but I've done a lot of things through word of mouth, etc. But when my relationship with Facebook changed, somebody mentioned TikTok. I went over to TikTok. I set up a page, started it, but I never really did anything. I would say it's been the last year. I go live. I did a live last night, the live you're speaking about. And at one point I had 300 people in the room listening. I know it's not all about viewers for me, but it's important for me to look at the message and from that perspective. So my average listeners in that room at any given time was 160 people, which is incredible,
It
absolutely
is.
incredible from the perspective of sharing. So I've really noticed that I do content lives on a Monday. So Mondays are always, I've got one boundaries next week. Then it's about self-forgiveness the following week. Then it's about guilt and shame the week after that, which is ironically the anniversary of Becky's passing is the 26th of Jan. And we're talking about guilt and shame, where I lived for a long time.
Yeah.
So Mondays is that, but I've got a beautiful community called Team Expansion, and they are incredible. And I am biased because, they are one of the most supportive, safe spaces. I have moderators in there that keep the space safe. We have people sharing openly in there I share very openly about my story all the time. I've let go of everything so I share very openly. What that space does is it encourages people to come in and be able to be vulnerable because they're held. They're held in a very safe space. I answer questions, I talk through different things, but I give a lot of tools. People say to me, you give so much for free. And I'm like, because when I was at my lowest point, that's what I needed. Because people say to me, why don't you help business people and do all of that? It's like, yeah, great. But my heart is in the people that really feel like there's no hope at the moment. That's where my heart is. That's where my true passion is. So TikTok is where I do that. And on the Thursdays when I do my radio show, I'm live on the radio, on Dreamcatcher Radio, and I also live stream the show into TikTok. And then I have an after party. So I love I need to do more videos on TikTok, to be fair. Mine's mainly a live thing. I do need to do more videos because with content, and that's something that is going to be a big focus for me this year, is doing more of the video content. because yes, I love lives. I much prefer lives. At the same time, not everyone can get to them. So,
Yeah.
but I'm limited time wise, but I'm going to do snippet, a mini series, like a boundaries series, different series. I'm going to do it that way.
Oh, I love that, and I think that would be it would be really helpful because, like you say, I missed a live yesterday, and I was gutted. And
Mm.
also, if you do have the like the mini boundaries and things, people can always see the content and they can always relate to it. No, I love that. I love that, and I think that would be amazing.
YouTube is coming because the amount of people, the reason that it hasn't is because I've had a lot of video content in the past. But a lot of's changed because that was in a different dynamic then. So I've had to redo everything, which has worked actually as a blessing because what it's done is a completely different energy and in a very positive way. So it's been recreated in the most gorgeous way. So there's a new YouTube channel is coming, which I love. I absolutely love. There's going to be workshop libraries. All the different things that I create is going into a library. So if people say to me, I love your workshops, I'm not, somebody who worries too much about workbooks or things like that. I'm creating a workshop library. I'm creating a PDF library. So if people just want the PDFs, they're not worried about the audio or the video, they can go there.
Because we all
And
we all need things in different ways, don't we? And I literally we are so on the same page. It's crazy. So yeah, that is brilliant. And I think the more that people have those tools, and the more, like you say, I know there are lots and lots of people out there that can afford things, but the people that cannot are generally the people that need the most help. That's my opinion. Obviously, I'm putting that out there for any statistics or to be bamboozled with comments. But I do think there is a place for you and there is a place for people that need that extra bit of help.
yeah, yeah. And it needs to be from the perspective. I do work with business people, right? I do that. I go to their homes, I video, I interview them. I do all of that. Absolutely. But if you would say to me at a deeper level, Lisa, if you could do something where you never get paid and, you would do it and you would give it away for free, what would it be? It would be exactly what I'm doing.
Mm,
Doing the work that I do. So yes, there's free stuff. There's stuff that is for example, I'm doing a boundaries bundle that's linked to the live next week. But it'll be everything they need to know about boundaries, but it'll be done at a price that people can afford to pay.
yeah,
So that they're able to actually get into action, but with everything they need to know, not just
yeah,
what you need to do is set a boundary. What you need to do is this, but they're not coming from the perspective of, hang on, what about somebody who feels like this? What about somebody who's had this go on? Gives the answers there and then through video and also through a written document. It's there.
brilliant.
And it's done in a way that people can go, do you know what? I can do that. I can afford to do that. That's fine. And that way, they've got the answers to what they need and they can get into action straight away, regardless of where you are on the journey. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. Where can people find you on TikTok?
On TikTok, so if you go to Lisa King, self-loveologist, you can find me. I didn't realize how common my name was, Lisa King, until I went onto social media and thought, I've actually met another Lisa King, which was quite interesting. But Lisa King, self-loveologist, is on TikTok. Facebook, it's Lisa King, but I am going to change that now. I am actually going to change it to Lisa King, self-loveologist, because it just makes it so much easier. Those are the two places I would say that you can find me easiest. And I can quite easily give you my email address and as
Yeah,
well.
well, what I'll do is I'll put everything onto the show notes, and everyone that you've mentioned, I will add all of those to the bottom.
Amazing. Okay.
I'm honestly, I cannot thank you enough. I think you and I could probably talk for longer than an hour. We could probably go on for a few days. Thank you so much for being on here. I know that what you're doing is going to help so many people. Thank you for all your tips and tricks. And my conductor's question, I'm calling it conductor's question because it's just train themed. So if you could speak to the Lisa that first boarded the train, knowing what you now know, what would you say to her?
Wow. I would say thank you. Thank you for getting me here. I've got it now. I've got you and I've got this, and thank you. Thank you for getting me to the platform. I'm now going to take the journey on from here and I'll hold you the whole way.
I got goosebumps then everywhere. That is a lovely, lovely response. And little Lisa would be very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
So just to put out to the listeners, if there's been anyone triggered by anything we've said today, then please reach out. I'll put lots of help in the bottom, telephone numbers, etc. If you want to get hold of me, it's at Riding the Trauma Train, either on Facebook or Instagram, or please feel free to share and take care of yourselves.
Yeah, all the
Until
best.
next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me today on Riding the Trauma Train. I'm Lydia and I feel privileged to share this space with you. No matter where you are on this train right now, whether it's in survival mode, slowly finding your feet in recovery, or maybe it's somewhere in between, remember you are not alone in what you're feeling and you do not have to travel this journey by yourself. So if you'd like to continue traveling together, please follow Riding the Trauma Train wherever you're listening so you can join us at the next stop. Until next time, take care.